I think something that needs to be discussed is the behaviour of Democrats. Now, this is unusual because when talking about the behaviour of somebody, I feel like a teacher talking about a naughty child, not an adult discussing the behaviour of elected representatives of the most powerful nation on earth. But, alas, that's the situation I find myself in. One of the key problems, I think, is that no matter how badly the Democrats behave, it's never adequately reported by the media. I mean, you'll see it on Fox News, but you get some ardent Democrats that will never, ever watch Fox News. I mean, you'll never see this on CNN or MSNBC. And it's clear that journalists have way too much power. They kind of gatekeep the truth and only let you see what they want you to see. They shape the narrative and the conversation. So they'll show you all the failings of the Republicans and none from the Democrats. So people that only consume news from those sources will think the Democrats are these flawless, godlike creatures, when really they are hopelessly incompetent and incredibly childish. For example, this is how they behave in the Ohio House of Representatives meeting when the Republicans are trying to pass an amendment to a bill they disagree with.
Designate separate teams for participants of the biological sex. No school interscholastic conference or organization that regulates interscholastics shall permit biological males to participate on athletic team.
And the Democrats get caught up in incredibly shady situations that always seemingly and inexplicably get pushed under the table, like the Hunter Biden laptop scandal. That story just seemed to dry up. The FBI seized it and then nothing much happened, although some images recovered from it showed that Joe Biden was lying when he said he had nothing to do with his son's business talks with Mexicans and Russians and Ukrainians, as he can clearly be seen in pictures brokering introductions. And remember the Hillary email server scandal? What the hell happened with that? Could you imagine the blowback if Trump had a secret email server that he deleted before anyone could examine anything from it? And then there's a question mark about Joe Biden's handlers. No matter where he is, be it at home in the White House or abroad meeting leaders of other nations, as soon as he starts to fumble and his vision starts to glaze over, there's somebody there to usher the press away so we can't see Biden in its natural state. We're only allowed to see what they want us to see of him. There is something wrong with him, they're just not letting us see what it is.
Let's go, President. Let's go. Come on, Press. Let's go. Come on, let's go.
Crisis at the border, sir.
Let's go, you guys. Come on. Come on, let's go. Come on, you guys. Why is anyone moving? Let's go. Come on, thank you. You guys, let's go. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Watch them all, box.
Let's go, thank you.
And while the security services of America don't appear to be doing much looking into the Biden family, or the Clinton family, or any other crooked Democrats, they are, however, looking into Tucker Carlson. That's according to Tucker Carlson himself, who claimed on Tucker Carlson tonight that the NSA have read his emails, and they've even been in contact with him. While that is a big claim and incredibly illegal on their part if they are, I honestly feel like Tucker Carlson's being honest. I mean, lying about something like that would put his entire reputation at stake, which would be a stupid thing to do. But given what looks like a war on conservatives, I wouldn't put it past the American government to stalk or tap prominent conservatives to see what they're talking about. There's this false narrative that right-wing conservatives, or even just conservatives, are the biggest threat to America, which is absolute nonsense. But if they truly believe that, maybe they think Tucker Carlson is the leader of some KKK ring or something stupid like that. And while some people might not consider Tucker Carlson a reliable source, I mean, sure, he's made some mistakes in the past, but I think right now he's one of the most credible journalists in America. While all of the famous named journalists in CNN are arguing about critical race theory and asking Mayor Lightfoot if she thinks her criticism comes from her being a black woman rather than her being shit at her job. And a situation we're having to deal with at the minute is something I'm pretty sure you've already seen, and that's the White House saying that it was the Republicans who are calling to defund the police, which is so absurd on the face of it, it's almost unbelievable. But this is the Democrats we're dealing with, and I'm sure there's plenty of what we laughably have to call fact-checkers agreeing with them. You want to know why? because Republicans did vote against a certain bill because it was $2 trillion of money that would have been pretty much wasted, and only $350 million of those dollars would have went to the police, which is about 0.02% of that amount. That's if my maths is right, feel free to check it yourself. But it wasn't the police part they were objecting to. All the while, AOC is pushing with all of her political might to have $1 billion removed from the New York police, and is wanting to take even more, saying that this doesn't go far enough. So technically, the fact-checkers can't be accused of lying, they're just extremely dishonest and misleading. The only reason you see Democrats these days taking huge U-turns on issues like this is because they've seen how absolutely devastating it is to cities. Without police officers, crime explodes. If only there was some way we could have known this without first trying it, but according to the Democrats, there definitely isn't. And, like all the other lies they tell, if they repeat it enough, and for long enough, people will slowly start believing them, as eventually their memories fade over the years. They've done it before, and they're doing it again. And then, of course, there is Joe Biden. Honestly, I'm not sure much needs to be said on this, because frankly, I don't think he's the one pulling the strings in Washington, D.C. I think he's so far gone at this point that he is basically a talking head and has Kamala Harris's hand up his arse, because he is basically a puppet. I mean, they do roll him out once in a while and try to get him to answer some questions, but I don't know if it's more painful for us to watch or more painful for him to rifle through his memories in an attempt to answer them.
I got a brief, and I'll be in better shape to talk to you about it. Hang on a second.
But either way, anyone with a pair of eyes and ears can see that he's not at the top of his game. And frankly, he's old. He will never be at the top of his game again. All this does is make America look weak, which really isn't good when you consider how many enemies America has on the world stage. America has spent a lot of money to put itself at the forefront of the world, and now it appears America has a leader that's unable to meet those kinds of obligations. In the event of a nuclear attack, especially with a hypersonic missile, the president may have only a few minutes to decide whether to launch a retaliatory strike or not. Can you imagine how long he would be umming and ahhing before he made a decision? I mean, it's not really funny anymore. This is a matter of national security. And enemies like China are loving it. They were under Trump's thumb. They couldn't do anything and get away with it. But with Biden, it's given them a new lease on life. They can do whatever they want. I would not be surprised if we saw China launch an invasion of Taiwan within the next 4 years, before the American people get somebody competent in. No wonder China, on the 100th anniversary of the Chinese Communist Party, released a statement saying that they will crack heads and spill blood if people come after China. They're taunting America because they know now they can do whatever they want and get away with it because strong leadership went out with Trump. I think that's about all I've got for you today. What do you think is the funniest or craziest thing a Democrat has said? I'll leave the answers that make me laugh the most at the end of my next video, and as always, thank you for your time.